Building yourself quietly means focusing on steady, meaningful progress without needing to announce every step. It's about working on who you are in a way that feels calm, steady, and real. Many people look for quick fixes or loud success, but true growth happens in small moments that most people don't see. This kind of self-improvement isn't about showing off. It's about being honest with yourself and making choices that bring you closer to the life you want. In this guide, you'll find practical advice you can use every day. We'll talk about how to start your mornings right, how to protect your focus, and why patience matters more than rushing. You'll learn how to build routines that support your goals, how to listen more carefully, and why saying no is sometimes the strongest choice you can make. You'll discover how tracking your progress can help you grow without beating yourself up, and how learning something new daily keeps your mind sharp and open. This isn't about changing everything overnight. It's about showing up consistently, even when no one is watching. It's about finding strength in moments of quiet and choosing calm over quick reactions. By following these ways, you can build yourself from the inside out, strong, steady, and ready for whatever comes next. If you want to grow with purpose, discipline, and real confidence, then these simple yet powerful ideas will help you take the next step. This is about building your best self quietly, without noise or rush, but with clear direction and lasting results. Stay with this and you'll find a path that feels true and achievable every single day. Chapter 1. Wake up early and begin with quiet self-reflection. Waking up early is not about being part of a trend or following some productivity hack. It is about reclaiming your life. The morning belongs to you before the world starts calling your name. When you rise early and begin with quiet self-reflection, you create space to meet yourself. In that silent hour when everything outside is still, you can finally listen to what is going on inside. You are no longer reacting. You are building. Not loudly, not with announcements or declarations, but quietly. That is where your power begins, before the noise, before the distractions, before the expectations. Most people rush into the day already late, already stressed, already burdened. They don't notice it anymore because they've accepted it. But you are not most people. You're choosing something different. You're choosing to start your day from a place of clarity, not chaos. From a place of reflection, not reaction. When you wake early, you give yourself a chance to remember who you are and where you're going. You are not racing. You are building, one moment at a time. The first minutes of the day set the direction for everything that follows. If you start in a rush, you carry that rush into your conversations, your work, your meals, your decisions. You become a person who is always trying to catch up. But when you begin in silence and awareness, you carry that inner stillness with you. You walk through your day with a clear mind and a steady pace. This does not mean everything becomes easy. It means you become stronger. Waking early is an act of self-respect. It says you matter. It says your mind deserves attention before the world asks you to give it away. It says your purpose is worth showing up for. You don't need a perfect routine or a strict list of tasks. What you need is presence. When you wake early and sit with yourself, even if just for 10 minutes, you begin to build a relationship with the most important person in your life, yourself. Self-reflection is not complicated. It is simply paying attention. Ask yourself how you feel. Ask what's been weighing on your mind. Ask what matters to you today. You don't need to fix everything or figure it all out. You just need to be honest. You just need to look inward instead of constantly outward. In those quiet moments, you begin to see your patterns. You begin to recognize what drains you and what gives you life. You begin to take responsibility for how you show up in the world. That's how growth happens, not in sudden bursts but in repeated choices. Choosing to wake up before the world does. Choosing to be present before problems arise. Choosing to meet yourself before the demands arrive. Those choices shape your character, and character is the foundation of a good life. Self-reflection teaches you discipline without punishment. It's not about judging yourself. It's about understanding yourself. What did you avoid yesterday? What did you do well? What could you have handled with more grace? These questions are not for shame. They're for clarity. When you know yourself, you stop blaming. You stop hiding. You start acting with intention. And intention changes everything. You start doing things because they matter to you, not because you're afraid or trying to impress someone. You stop wasting energy on things that are not aligned with your values. You stop chasing approval and start building integrity. You become centered. You become consistent. You become grounded. This is why your morning matters. It's not about perfection. It's about alignment. It's about choosing to live your life, not just get through it. Waking early gives you a head start, not just on your to-do list, but on your thinking, your emotions, your behavior. You become a person who leads yourself. You don't wait for motivation. You build momentum through discipline, and quiet discipline is stronger than loud declarations. It might feel uncomfortable at first. Your body may resist. Your mind may reach for excuses. But discomfort is part of change. It means you are stretching. It means you are not asleep anymore. It means you are deciding to evolve instead of repeat. And the more often you rise early and reflect, the easier it becomes. Your mind starts to expect it. Your body starts to cooperate. And soon you stop needing the alarm. You wake because your purpose calls you. That is freedom. Real change doesn't require noise. It requires consistency. A quiet morning routine, grounded in reflection, is one of the most powerful habits you can build. It protects you from the chaos of the day. It reminds you that you are not here to react to everything. You are here to build something meaningful. And building begins in silence. Use this time to ask yourself honest questions. Who do I want to be today? What needs my attention? What am I grateful for? What am I avoiding? Sit with the answers. Write them down. You don't need to share them. This is not for social media. This is for your growth. When you begin to live from your own answers, instead of the opinions of others, you become unshakable. Start small. Wake up just 30 minutes earlier than usual. Sit with yourself. No phone, no noise. Just you and your thoughts. At first it may feel strange. That's okay. Growth is unfamiliar at first. Keep showing up. With time, this quiet space will become the most important part of your day. It will become the place where you return to yourself, the place where you find peace before the world wakes up. Eventually, you'll notice something has changed. You'll feel more grounded, less reactive, more in control. People around you may not understand what's different, but you'll know. You'll know you are not rushing anymore. You are leading yourself. You are no longer chasing clarity. You are creating it every morning. And as you continue this practice, your decisions will improve. Your relationships will feel more honest. Your energy will be protected. You will stop leaking your time to things that don't matter. You will begin to value simplicity, truth, and presence. These things come from within, and you access them by creating the space to listen. If you want to build yourself, do it quietly. Wake up early. Reflect before you act. Choose your words. Choose your focus. Choose your energy. Every morning before the noise begins, you are given a choice to lead your day or be led by it. Choose to lead. Not loudly, not for attention, but because your life is worth building with intention. This is where strength comes from, not from pushing harder, but from thinking clearly, not from impressing others, but from knowing yourself, not from always winning, but from learning with honesty. Waking early and reflecting does not solve all your problems. It prepares you to face them with more wisdom, more patience, more courage. You don't need a perfect morning. You just need a consistent one. Keep it simple. A few deep breaths, a few honest questions, a few quiet moments. That's all it takes to shift your state. That's all it takes to return to yourself. No screens, no rushing, just presence. That is your foundation. You don't need to prove anything. You need to prepare. You don't need to be extraordinary. You need to be consistent. Your strength is built in silence, not in performance, not in noise, but in the decision to start your day on purpose. You will face resistance. Some mornings will feel heavy. Some thoughts will be uncomfortable. But those are the mornings that build the most character. Stay with it. Do not abandon yourself. Meet your thoughts with stillness. Meet your discomfort with breath. Meet your fears with awareness. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to grow. And growth happens when you show up for yourself, quietly, day after day. This is how change begins, not with loud goals or big announcements, but with one choice: to rise before the world demands your attention, and to meet yourself in the stillness of the morning. From that place you gain strength. From that place you make better decisions. From that place you begin to live, not just survive. You don't need more time. You need more presence. Waking early gives you that. It teaches you that success is not built by chance. It's built by those who are willing to do the small things consistently. Those who are willing to face themselves without distraction. Those who are willing to begin again, every single day. So begin again. Tomorrow morning, rise early. Sit with yourself. Ask real questions. Breathe deeply. Be present. And trust that you are doing something important. You are building yourself, quietly. And that quiet effort will shape everything. Chapter 2. Eliminate distractions and protect your daily focus time. Every time you let a distraction pull your attention, you give away a piece of your life you can never get back. Focus is not just about getting things done. It's about honoring your time, your energy, and your mind. There's a reason so many people feel lost and scattered. They don't lack intelligence or potential. They lack protection around their attention. What you focus on builds your life. What you ignore shapes your future. If you don't defend your focus, the world will keep stealing it from you. One notification, one scroll, one meaningless task at a time. To eliminate distractions, you must start by understanding what they really are. They're not just annoying interruptions. They are small decisions that pull you away from your purpose. Every time you pick up your phone without thinking, every time you say yes to something you didn't plan, every time you open a tab, just for a second, you lose control. And once you lose control of your attention, everything else follows. You become reactive instead of intentional. You move through your day with scattered energy instead of clear direction. The mind cannot hold deep focus and shallow distractions at the same time. When you allow both to exist, you weaken your ability to go deep on anything. And depth is where clarity, insight, and achievement live. The most powerful people in the world are not the busiest. They are the most focused. They protect their time like it matters, because it does. Time is not just a resource, it is your life. And every minute you spend distracted is a minute you could have spent building something meaningful, Begin by creating space in your day that is truly yours, not borrowed, not shared, not interrupted. Time where no one can reach you. Time that is not up for negotiation, even if it's just 1 hour. Guard it. Make it sacred. Use that time to do what matters most to you, thinking clearly, working deeply, building habits, solving problems. This is not about doing more, it's about doing what matters with full attention. Focus is not intensity, focus is presence. You don't need more time in the day, you need fewer distractions in your hours. That means removing what doesn't belong. Start with your environment. Your phone does not belong next to you while you work. Social media does not belong on your home screen. Notifications do not belong in your life. Unless they are urgent and necessary, turn them off. Remove the temptation. Make your space boring so your mind has room to think. Set boundaries. Not just with others but with yourself. Tell yourself the truth. You don't need to check your phone again. You don't need to respond right now. You don't need to jump between tabs. You need to stay with one thing until it is complete. That is how focus is built. Not with motivation, but with self-honesty. You know when you're escaping. You know when you're avoiding. Call it what it is, and come back to your task. Come back to yourself. When you give something your full attention, you bring your best to it. You stop rushing. You stop pretending. You engage, and that engagement changes your experience. Even ordinary tasks become meaningful when done with full presence. And over time, this presence becomes who you are, a person who doesn't just get things done, but who does them with clarity and care, a person who protects their energy, a person who leads their day instead of reacting to it. To protect your focus time, treat it like a meeting with someone important. Block it on your calendar. Let others know you're unavailable. Don't apologize. Don't explain. Just be unavailable. That's your time to think, to build, to solve, to grow. And when you begin to treat it seriously, others will too. People will respect the boundaries you uphold, not the ones you wish for. Understand this clearly. Distraction is not accidental. It is designed. The world is filled with systems meant to pull you in and keep you hooked. If you don't resist that design, you become a passive participant in someone else's goal. You spend your life helping others stay in business while your own dreams fall behind. That is not acceptable. Not for someone who wants to live fully. Not for someone who wants to create something real. So build systems that support your focus. Create routines that reduce decision fatigue. Start your day with clear intentions. Keep your workspace clean and minimal. Choose one task at a time and finish it before starting another. Use tools that help you stay on track, not tools that steal your attention. And most importantly, check in with yourself often. Ask if you're working from purpose or from habit. Ask if your energy is being spent wisely. Ask if your time is being used in a way that makes you proud. This is not about being perfect. This is about being clear. You won't always stay focused. You will drift. You will forget. You will fall into old patterns. That's part of the process. The key is to notice it quickly and return. Come back to your breath. Come back to your task. Come back to your intention. That return builds mental strength. That return is the practice. And the more often you return, the easier it becomes to stay. You don't need to fix everything at once. Just start small. Identify your biggest distractions. Remove one, then another. Create space, then protect that space fiercely. Even if the rest of your day is chaotic, that one protected hour can change your life. That hour is where your real work gets done. That hour is where you build your mind. That hour is where you move from chaos to clarity. In a world that values noise, choosing focus is revolutionary. In a culture that rewards speed, choosing depth is rare. But this is what separates those who drift from those who lead, those who react from those who create. It's not about talent or intelligence. It's about attention. It's about the quiet courage to say no to what doesn't matter, so you can say yes to what does. So make the decision now. Eliminate what steals your mind. Protect what builds your future. Focus is not something you wait for. It's something you create. Every day, with every choice, with every moment of presence. This is how you take back your life. Not by doing more, but by doing what matters without interruption. You don't need permission. You don't need perfect conditions. You just need to begin. Right now, with full attention, with full presence, with full intention. Chapter 3. Practice patience by choosing calm over quick reactions. Most people respond to life too quickly and too emotionally. They don't pause. They don't process. They don't observe what's actually happening inside them. Instead, they react based on habit, stress, or fear. That's how arguments start. That's how opportunities are lost. That's how regret builds. One rushed reaction at a time. But when you choose to slow down and respond from a place of calm, everything begins to change. You stop being pulled around by your emotions. You stop feeding the chaos around you. You gain control of your thoughts, your energy, and your outcomes. Patience isn't weakness. It's power. It's the strength to sit with discomfort without needing to escape it. It's the wisdom to know that not everything deserves your immediate response. When you act too fast, you often speak before thinking. You decide before understanding. You move before planning. But calm doesn't mean passive. It means grounded. It means clear. It means you give yourself enough space to choose the best response instead of the loudest one. You don't need to solve everything in the moment. You don't need to defend yourself every time you're misunderstood. You don't need to rush into decisions just because you feel pressure. The truth is, most problems shrink when you stop feeding them with more noise. Most conflicts cool down when you stop pouring fuel on the fire. And most emotions fade when you let them pass instead of acting on them. Patience begins with breathing. Not shallow, automatic breathing, but intentional, steady breathing. When you take even one full breath before responding, you create a gap between the trigger and your action. That gap is everything. It's where your freedom lives. In that space you can reflect. You can observe what's really going on. You can remind yourself of what actually matters. It only takes a moment, but that moment protects your peace and your dignity. The fastest way to lose your peace is to react without thinking. Every time you allow someone else's behavior to control your mood, you give away your power. You might feel justified in your anger, but that doesn't mean it's helpful. You might be right in the argument, but that doesn't mean you'll win anything by raising your voice. A quick reaction might feel satisfying in the moment, but it often leads to more problems later. Calm doesn't avoid problems. Calm solves them without making new ones. Train yourself to sit with the discomfort of not reacting. When someone offends you, pause. When things don't go your way, breathe. When your plans fall apart, stay grounded. Life will test your patience every day. Not because it's unfair, but because it's teaching you something. Every delay is a lesson in discipline. Every challenge is a chance to respond with grace. Every slow path is an invitation to build endurance. You don't need to control everything around you. You need to master what happens within you. That's the real goal. That's what makes a person strong, Not how fast they move, but how steady they remain. Not how loud they speak, but how well they listen. Not how quickly they respond, but how wisely they choose their next step. If you want to build patience, start by slowing down your day. Don't rush from one task to the next. Finish what you start with presence. Give your full attention to one thing at a time. Let your mind settle. Let your heart quiet down. When you're calm on the inside, the noise on the outside doesn't control you. You can see things clearly. You can hear what others are really saying. You can lead your life with intention instead of reaction. Let go of the need to always be first. Let go of the urge to prove yourself in every conversation. Let go of the pressure to have all the answers right now. Growth takes time. Wisdom takes experience. Peace takes discipline. You don't get there by speeding up. You get there by staying steady. And when things feel urgent, remind yourself that very few situations require instant action. Silence is not weakness. Stillness is not avoidance. Sometimes, doing nothing for a moment is the most powerful move you can make. You have to practice patience in small ways every day. When you're stuck in traffic, when someone interrupts you, when your day doesn't go as planned, these are the moments that shape your character. Not the big events, not the achievements, but the quiet, difficult choices to stay calm when you want to explode. That's where real strength is built. Being calm doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care enough to act wisely. It means you protect your mental and emotional energy. It means you value peace over pride. And that kind of strength doesn't just improve your life, it changes how others respond to you. People trust those who stay steady under pressure. People listen to those who don't overreact. People respect those who don't let emotions take over. This isn't about suppressing how you feel. It's about managing how you respond. It's about feeling the emotion and choosing your action anyway. That's maturity. That's what gives you power in the real world. Anyone can react. Not everyone can remain calm. But calm minds think better. Calm voices are heard more clearly. Calm actions have more impact. Remind yourself that urgency is often an illusion. You have time to breathe. You have time to consider. You have time to respond in a way you won't regret. And the more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. At first, it feels uncomfortable. You want to jump in. You want to say something. But if you pause, even for a few seconds, you'll find something better than the first impulse. You'll find clarity. Real patience is built by doing the hard thing in quiet ways. Sitting with your anger without acting on it. Letting someone finish speaking before jumping in. Waiting until your mind is clear before making a decision. These moments shape who you become. Not by force, but by choice. Not by noise, but by stillness. This is how you change your life without shouting. This is how you lead without controlling. This is how you grow without rushing. Through quiet strength, through inner calm, through patient choices made over and over again. Every time you choose patience, you invest in a better version of yourself. Every time you hold your reaction, you build inner freedom. And every time you return to calm, you move forward with peace. That is how progress is made, steadily, intentionally, and without unnecessary damage. Chapter 4. Build strong routines that align with your future goals. You cannot build a meaningful life on scattered actions and random habits. If your daily behavior does not point toward your future goals, then you're only moving in circles. A routine is not about living a rigid life. It's about designing your time to support the life you want. It's the discipline of doing what matters even when no one is watching, even when motivation fades, even when progress feels slow. The strength of your routine determines the strength of your results. Your life is not shaped by what you occasionally do, but by what you consistently repeat. One small action repeated daily with intention carries more power than 100 bursts of inspiration that never last. People often wait for the perfect time to start something important. They look for motivation, for the right energy, for a clean schedule. But progress doesn't wait for ideal conditions. It begins when you decide to move, no matter how small the step. Building strong routines is not about perfection, it's about clarity. It's about understanding who you want to become and doing something every day that leads you there. It might be quiet, it might be simple, but over time, those repeated efforts shape your mindset, improve your discipline, and form the structure of a strong life. You have to get clear on what matters to you, not what impresses others, not what looks good on paper. Your routines must reflect the future you want to live, not the habits that keep you stuck in the present. If your goal is health, then your routine must protect your physical and mental well-being. If your goal is peace, then your days must be organized around simplicity and focus. If your goal is success, then you must spend time on tasks that build skill, connection, and purpose. If your goal is inner growth, then your routine must leave space for silence, learning, and self-awareness. Everything starts with alignment. You don't need to do more. You need to do what matters more often. Structure gives you freedom. It sounds like a contradiction, but it's the truth. When you decide how your day will go, you take control of your time instead of letting the world steal it. When your mornings start with intention, your whole day changes. You begin from a place of power, not pressure. Your actions have direction, not distraction. You stop wasting hours trying to find motivation because you already have a plan that leads somewhere meaningful. Without structure, life pulls you in every direction, but with it you focus your energy on what truly matters. That's how change happens. That's how goals become results. There's no need for a complicated schedule. What matters is consistency and clarity. Choose a few simple actions that reflect your priorities. Do them every day at the same time if you can. Make them non-negotiable. Treat them with the same respect you give to urgent problems because they shape your long-term future. A 10-minute walk, reading one chapter, preparing a healthy meal, writing your goals, checking in with your progress. These small acts done daily can change the course of your life over time. Most people fail to change not because they don't want it, but because they never build a system that supports it. Motivation fades, excitement dies, but routines stay. They're the structure that carries you through when you're tired, distracted, or overwhelmed. They remove the need to constantly decide. You already know what to do. You just do it. That simplicity creates power. You don't argue with yourself every morning. You follow through. And that consistency becomes part of your identity. You no longer try to be disciplined. You are disciplined. You no longer try to be focused. You are focused. That's how people transform quietly and permanently. Discipline doesn't mean being harsh. It means being clear and committed. Your routine is a contract with your future self. It's a promise that you won't abandon your vision just because today is hard. And the more you show up, the stronger that trust becomes. When you follow through, even when it's not easy, you build a kind of strength that doesn't need applause. You build inner confidence. You know you're not wasting time. You know you're getting better. That alone gives you peace. The best routines aren't built overnight. They come from testing, adjusting, and staying honest with yourself. If something in your day consistently drains you, remove it. If something adds value, protect it. If a habit isn't working, refine it. Stay flexible, but don't lose your focus. A routine isn't meant to trap you. It's meant to support you. Let it grow with you. Let it evolve as you learn. But never drift through your days without a plan. That's how years disappear while you wait to begin. When you live without direction, you fall into patterns you didn't choose. You wake up late, check your phone, skip what matters, and wonder why the day feels empty. You say you want more, but your actions say otherwise. That gap creates stress, guilt, and disappointment. The way out isn't dramatic change. It's simple, daily effort. Wake up earlier by 10 minutes. Use that time to breathe, stretch, read, or reflect. Cut out 1 hour of distractions in your day. Use that hour to build something, not for perfection, for progress. Every small step counts. Every effort adds up. Your routine becomes the story you write with your time. Not everyone will understand your discipline. Not everyone will support your structure. But this is not about them. This is your life, your growth, your goals. You don't owe explanations for protecting your peace. You don't need permission to invest in your future. What you do daily is more important than what you post, what you say, or what you plan. Quiet progress always beats loud intentions. So work in silence, build with intention, and stay patient. Results will come, not all at once, but one disciplined day at a time. The beauty of routine is that it creates space for everything that matters. You stop wasting time on regret. You stop drowning in decision fatigue. You focus on the few things that truly make a difference, and you do them well. That simplicity brings peace. That structure brings clarity. And from that, progress becomes inevitable. This is how you build yourself quietly. Not by chasing everything, but by choosing a few things that align with your vision and repeating them until they become part of who you are. Your habits shape your future. Build them with care. Guard them with discipline, and trust that with enough consistency, they will carry you exactly where you are meant to go. Chapter 5. Listen deeply and speak only when it adds value. Most people listen only to reply, not to understand. They wait for their turn to speak, rehearsing their response in their mind while the other person is still talking. This kind of listening creates distance, not connection. It shuts down trust. It creates noise where there should be presence. If you want to grow, if you want to build deeper relationships, and if you want to live with clarity and purpose, you must learn to listen in a different way. You must learn to listen with full attention, without trying to control, interrupt, or fix. You must learn to be still when someone else is speaking, even when your mind races ahead. You must learn to receive someone's words without letting your ego rise to defend or impress. This kind of listening is rare but powerful. It changes how you understand others, and more importantly, how you understand yourself. When you listen deeply, you start to notice what's not being said. You hear emotion, not just words. You feel tone, not just statements. You begin to understand where someone is coming from, not just what they're trying to express. This type of presence strengthens relationships because it makes people feel seen. It brings calm to situations that would otherwise turn into conflict. It allows you to make better decisions because you're not just reacting, you're observing with clarity. You're not rushing to offer advice that wasn't asked for. You're not filling silence with noise. You're choosing to respect the space, to wait, and to truly hear what's needed. When you speak only to add value, your words carry more weight. You don't speak to show off what you know. You don't speak to fill a gap. You speak because you have something meaningful to say, something useful, clear and grounded. This doesn't mean you stay silent out of fear or hesitation. It means you choose your words with care. You understand that speaking is an action. It has impact. It shapes the mood. It influences thought. And because of that, you don't waste words on gossip, complaining, or trying to impress. You speak to uplift, to clarify, to support. You speak when it matters. There is strength in stillness. It takes discipline to pause when your emotions urge you to react. It takes wisdom to wait when your pride wants to speak. The more you practice deep listening, the more you begin to control your responses. You no longer react out of impulse. You start responding from a calm, stable place. This isn't weakness, it's maturity, it's emotional control, and it makes you more powerful, not louder, but clearer, not dominant, but deeply respected. Because people trust those who don't speak too much. They trust those who observe first, who listen well, and who speak with intention. In moments of conflict, silence is often stronger than shouting. When people argue, they try to win with volume, but real strength is being able to stay grounded while others lose control. Listening in those moments doesn't mean you agree. It means you're wise enough to understand that clarity is more valuable than winning. When you listen without taking everything personally, you become unshakable. You can see the truth behind the emotion. You can respond in a way that resolves, instead of escalating the situation. This doesn't mean staying silent forever. It means holding back until you're ready to speak with purpose. Listening deeply also teaches you humility. You realize you don't know everything. You see the value in other people's perspectives. You stop needing to be right all the time. And that opens the door to learning, growth, and connection. You stop leading with ego. You begin leading with awareness. And from that place, your presence becomes more powerful than any argument. Your calm becomes more effective than any clever comeback. When you listen to understand rather than reply, you bring peace into places where chaos usually wins. You also start hearing your own thoughts more clearly. When you slow down enough to listen, you begin to notice your patterns. You catch yourself in the act of rushing, judging, or interrupting. And that awareness helps you grow. You learn patience. You learn the difference between reacting and responding. You learn that not everything needs your opinion. You learn that silence can be a choice, not a failure. And when you speak less often, your voice carries more strength when you finally do. People often mistake silence for weakness. But real silence is filled with power. It's the kind of silence that comes from knowing who you are. You no longer speak to prove anything. You no longer talk to fill the air. You're not trying to dominate. You're grounded. You're present. You understand the value of listening before acting. And you've trained yourself to respond only when your words can make something better, clearer, or calmer. That kind of silence speaks louder than noise ever could. The more you practice this, the more peaceful your days become. Conversations become less stressful. Arguments become shorter or disappear altogether. You no longer feel the urge to comment on everything. You no longer let emotions drive your tongue. You build relationships based on trust and understanding, not dominance or defensiveness. People feel safe around you because you don't talk over them. They feel respected because you give them your full attention. And most importantly, you respect yourself because you no longer say things you'll regret later. You can start this practice today. The next time someone speaks, pause and focus. Don't think about what you're going to say. Just listen. Let them finish. Let silence happen. When it's your turn, ask yourself if your words will help or harm. Ask yourself if they bring clarity or just noise. If it doesn't add value, hold it back. If it brings truth or peace, speak it. Slowly this becomes your new way of being. You become someone who listens deeply, speaks wisely, and holds space for what truly matters. In a world filled with opinions, your calm will stand out. In a time of constant talking, your silence will carry power. People will notice not because you speak often, but because when you do, it's worth hearing. You don't chase attention. You don't force your voice. You wait until you have something real to say. And that discipline makes your presence more effective than 1,000 loud voices. You build yourself quietly, not by being the loudest in the room, but by being the one who listens, observes, and speaks with intention. That is strength. That is wisdom. That is the kind of person who builds a better life and a better world, one word at a time. Chapter 6. Track your progress and adjust without self-judgment. Most people want growth, but very few want to look at themselves honestly. It's not because they're lazy or weak, it's because they're afraid of what they might find. The truth is, real progress demands self-awareness, and self-awareness requires courage. You have to be willing to observe yourself without defense. You have to be willing to measure where you are, not where you wish you were. And above all, you have to learn to do this without turning on yourself. That's the hard part, keeping your balance while being honest. Most either ignore their flaws or drown in them. But the ones who grow are the ones who look, adjust, and move forward without labeling themselves as failures. Tracking your progress is not about perfection. It's about clarity. It gives you the ability to see whether your actions are aligned with your goals. It helps you understand what's working and what needs to change. It shows you patterns that would otherwise remain hidden. Without tracking, you're guessing. With it, you're guiding. You're no longer just trying harder, you're trying smarter. This is where silent self-discipline replaces noisy frustration. You don't need to shout about how much you want to improve. You simply watch, record, and adjust. Consistently, quietly, intentionally. What gets measured improves. It might sound simple, but it's one of the most overlooked truths in personal growth. When you start to pay attention to your habits, your energy, your thoughts, and your outcomes, things begin to shift. Not because life suddenly gets easier, but because you become more honest. You stop giving yourself excuses. You start recognizing the real reasons behind your behaviors. Maybe you avoid certain tasks because of fear, not laziness. Maybe you're exhausted, not because you lack discipline, but because you overcommit. When you start writing things down, what you did, how you felt, where you got stuck, you begin to uncover the truth. And with that truth comes power. But here's the part that makes the difference. You must track your progress without turning it into punishment. Most people judge themselves harshly the moment they fall short. They look at their mistakes as evidence that they're not good enough. But that's not clarity. That's criticism. And criticism doesn't lead to growth, it leads to quitting. So you must replace judgment with curiosity. Instead of asking, "Why did I fail?" ask what got in the way. Instead of thinking, "I'm not disciplined," ask what threw me off today, and how can I prepare for it tomorrow? This shift changes everything. It makes the process lighter. It keeps you moving, even when it's slow. Improvement doesn't come in straight lines. Some days you'll feel strong and focused. Other days you'll be scattered and tired. That's not failure. That's life. The key is to keep watching yourself without flinching. You don't need to pretend you're always motivated. You just need to notice what helps you and what drains you. Some days you'll show up fully. Some days you'll barely scrape by. But if you keep tracking your actions without attaching your worth to the outcome, you stay in the game. And staying in the game is what builds results. You don't need to impress anyone. You just need to keep showing up for yourself. The reason this kind of quiet tracking works is because it separates your identity from your performance. You are not your bad day. You are not your missed goal. You are not your temporary lack of progress. You are a person who is learning, a person who is adjusting, a person who is committed to growth, even when it's not glamorous. When you treat yourself with that kind of respect, you become resilient. You stop giving up after every setback. You stop letting one mistake spiral into a story of failure. You begin to trust that consistency matters more than speed. If you're working toward anything meaningful, you will hit walls. You'll experience delays, distractions and doubt. That's not a flaw in the system. That is the system. That's where most people give up. But if you're tracking what you're doing, if you're quietly measuring how you spend your time, how your mood affects your effort, and what triggers your habits, then you're not lost. You're learning. You're gathering data. And from that data, you can make changes. You can simplify. You can focus. You can adapt. This is how you grow with stability. Not by pushing harder when things go wrong, but by stepping back and adjusting wisely. Think about how you'd treat a friend who's trying to improve their life. You'd encourage them when they fall short. You'd point out what they did well. You'd help them see that one setback doesn't erase all their progress. Now give that same grace to yourself. You're not weak for having flaws. You're human. And as long as you keep learning from what you see, without turning it into self-hate, you're on the right path. Quiet tracking with compassion builds discipline that lasts. Harsh self-judgment only leads to burnout and shame. You don't need a perfect system. A simple journal, a few bullet points each evening, a weekly check-in with yourself. These are enough. Write what you did today that moved you closer to your goals. Write what slowed you down. Notice how your energy was. Notice if certain environments helped you focus, or if certain people drained you. Track how much time you spent on distractions. Note when you felt proud and when you felt off course. Don't edit it to sound good. Don't inflate your effort to protect your ego. Be honest and keep going. That's the practice. You look, you learn, and you refine. Eventually this becomes part of how you move through the world. You stop needing external rewards to stay committed. You stop waiting for motivation to appear. You build momentum from small insights. You trust your own feedback. You act based on what you've seen in yourself, not what someone else says you should do. And this creates strength, because it's grounded in your own awareness, not anyone's approval. Every day becomes a chance to collect wisdom from your actions. Every evening becomes a quiet moment to check in, not to criticize, but to course correct. This doesn't just improve your habits, it improves your confidence. You start to believe in yourself, not because you're perfect, but because you've seen what you can do when you stay present and keep moving. You become someone who knows how to observe without judgment, someone who doesn't fear the truth, someone who doesn't collapse under pressure, someone who grows slowly but surely into the person they were meant to be. Chapter 7. Simplify your life by saying no with confidence. Most people are overwhelmed, not because life is too complicated, but because they've allowed too much in. They say yes to requests out of guilt, habit, or fear of disappointing others. They stretch their time, energy, and attention thin, trying to meet every demand. They agree to things that don't align with their priorities, leaving less room for what truly matters. Over time, this constant overcommitment creates quiet resentment, exhaustion, and a loss of clarity. The truth is, The ability to say no, calmly, firmly, and without apology, is one of the most powerful tools for building a focused, meaningful life. Saying no isn't selfish. It's a form of self-respect. It's recognizing that your time and energy are limited, and that not every invitation, request, or responsibility deserves a piece of you. People often confuse kindness with compliance. But genuine kindness has boundaries. It doesn't sacrifice your well-being just to keep the peace. You can decline with grace. You can be firm without being rude. The strength lies in knowing what you value and protecting it without needing to justify yourself endlessly. It's easy to get pulled into doing more than you should when you don't take time to define your own priorities. When you're unclear about what matters most to you, everything seems urgent. Every opportunity feels important. Every favor feels necessary. That's how life gets crowded with obligations that aren't aligned with your path. The first step to simplifying your life is becoming clear about what's essential. When you know what's truly important, your health, your growth, your relationships, your goals, then anything that doesn't support those becomes easier to decline. No is not a rejection of others. It's a protection of your values. It's how you create space for depth, for rest, and for quality over quantity. When your life is filled with constant doing, constant pleasing, and constant approval seeking, you lose the quiet focus required to live intentionally. You rush from one thing to the next, but you don't feel present for any of it. When you begin saying no, you're not closing doors, you're opening the right ones. You're choosing direction over distraction. You're building a life that reflects your inner clarity, not other people's expectations. There's a quiet strength in someone who doesn't feel the need to explain every boundary they set. It means they've done the inner work. They've let go of the fear that people will dislike them for protecting their time. They no longer believe that their worth is tied to how much they do for others. Instead, they've replaced guilt with discernment. They've realized that constantly saying yes spreads them too thin to show up fully where it truly counts. They know that a calm, confident no is a gift, not just to themselves but to those around them. Because when you operate from fullness instead of fatigue, your presence becomes more valuable. The ability to say no is something that's built through daily decisions. It's built by pausing before responding, by checking in with yourself before agreeing, by asking, does this align with my goals, or will this drain or support my energy? You don't need a perfect reason. You don't need to defend your boundary with a long speech. You just need to honor your own limits. You can say, I won't be able to take that on right now, or that doesn't work for me at this time. The simpler the better. Clarity is more powerful than justification. Overcommitting often comes from the need to be liked, but when you choose peace over popularity, your life becomes lighter. You stop being pulled in every direction by other people's plans. You stop feeling guilty for choosing rest or focus. You realize that being liked isn't as important as being aligned. You don't owe anyone an explanation for taking care of yourself. The people who respect your boundaries are the ones worth keeping close. The rest will either adjust or fade away, and both are blessings. You can simplify your day by creating clear time blocks that are protected from unnecessary interruptions. You can simplify your commitments by choosing fewer but more meaningful responsibilities. You can simplify your relationships by gently pulling back from those who constantly take without giving. You can simplify your habits by cutting out what feels performative or forced. Each no becomes a yes to something deeper, to stillness, to growth, to peace. It takes practice to become comfortable with silence after you say no. Often people will try to push back, negotiate or pressure you into changing your mind. Your job is not to argue. Your job is to stay calm. When you stop over-explaining, you reclaim your authority. When you trust your decision, others begin to respect it. Over time, people learn that your yes is sincere because your no is honest. You become dependable, not because you say yes to everything, but because you show up fully for what you choose. There is nothing noble about running yourself into the ground. There is nothing admirable about sacrificing your health or joy to appear generous. A quiet, intentional life comes from choosing what to hold and what to release. Every no clears space for focus, for clarity, for meaningful action. The strength to simplify doesn't come from control, it comes from self-awareness. It comes from being honest about what you can give without resentment. It comes from valuing your own time as much as you value others. As you learn to say no with confidence, your life becomes more aligned with your purpose. You stop chasing things that don't fulfill you. You stop entertaining people who don't respect your energy. You begin to notice how much calmer your days feel when you're not overextended. And this calm becomes your new standard. You protect it not out of fear but out of respect. It becomes the environment where your best self can grow. Living a focused life means not trying to do everything. It means doing fewer things, better. It means understanding that real success comes from depth, not breadth. You cannot give your best to anything when you're saying yes to everything. The courage to simplify is the courage to stand alone when needed, to trust that your life doesn't need to be loud to be meaningful, that your value doesn't come from how much you take on, but from how intentionally you live. You are not here to live up to every request. You are not responsible for carrying the weight of every obligation. You are responsible for building a life that reflects your values, that honors your energy, that allows space for peace. This is how you create a future that is rooted in clarity, not chaos. Not by doing more, but by doing what matters. By choosing wisely, and by saying no with confidence, without guilt and without apology. Chapter 8. Learn something new every single day without exception. Every day brings a fresh chance to expand your understanding, sharpen your thinking, and challenge your assumptions. You don't need a classroom or a textbook to keep growing. The world is full of lessons waiting to be noticed. Each moment, each interaction, each piece of information you encounter holds the potential to deepen your knowledge or shift your perspective. But this doesn't happen automatically. You have to choose to be awake. You have to decide that no day is allowed to pass without gaining something new, even if it's small, even if it's quiet. Learning something new daily isn't about cramming facts. It's about training your mind to be curious again. Somewhere along the way, many people lose that natural hunger to understand. They settle into routines. They rely on what they already know. They stop asking questions because they fear looking unprepared or slow. But growth doesn't care about appearances. Growth rewards the person who stays humble, who keeps asking, who remains open to the possibility that they could be wrong today and wiser tomorrow. The commitment to daily learning shifts your inner dialogue. You begin your mornings with a sense of exploration. You move through your day looking for insights rather than waiting for inspiration to strike. You read more attentively. You listen more closely. You reflect more deeply on what you experience. You stop walking past the unknown and start engaging with it. Suddenly, even ordinary routines become opportunities to gather new understanding. The subject doesn't matter as much as the habit. You can study something practical, like improving your communication or managing your time. Or you can dive into subjects that are completely unfamiliar. You might read about history, psychology, science, or art. You might observe someone's behavior and learn something about patience or leadership. You might watch a short video that teaches you a new skill or hear a phrase that reframes the way you've been thinking. What matters is that you make learning a non-negotiable part of your day, not just something you squeeze in when it's convenient. There's a quiet power in those who never stop evolving. They don't cling to past knowledge like a trophy. They update their thinking. They revise their opinions. They aren't threatened by new ideas. They're energized by them. That's what makes them adaptive. That's what keeps them sharp in a world that's constantly changing. They don't fear being wrong because they've trained themselves to seek truth more than validation. They understand that wisdom isn't about always being right. It's about constantly being willing to grow. When you learn every day, you begin to notice how much you don't know. But instead of feeling overwhelmed by that, you start to feel excited. Because you see how much room there is to expand. You become less reactive and more thoughtful. You make decisions more clearly because you're grounded in broader understanding. You communicate with more precision because you've trained yourself to think before you speak. Learning builds not just knowledge, it builds presence. It trains your attention. It deepens your sense of self-awareness. Daily learning also builds momentum. One insight leads to another. One question opens the door to 5 more. Over time, your perspective shifts. You no longer view mistakes as failures but as feedback. You stop seeing problems as obstacles and begin to study them as teachers. Even your setbacks become data. You ask, what can I learn from this situation? What can this frustration teach me about myself or others? And that mindset alone puts you ahead of most, because you've turned life itself into your teacher. No matter how busy you are, you can find time to learn. 5 focused minutes can change the tone of your entire day. 10 minutes of reflection at night can turn experience into wisdom. You can learn by reading, yes, but you can also learn by listening. You can learn by observing how others handle stress, how they lead, how they love. You can learn by asking better questions, questions like, what did I miss today? Or what would I do differently next time? The point isn't how much time you spend. The point is that you never stop the habit. Learning makes you more valuable in every area of life. It makes you more resourceful at work. It makes you more emotionally intelligent in relationships. It makes you more resilient in times of difficulty. The more you know, the more options you have. And the more you reflect, the more power you have over your own thinking. Learning arms you with perspective. It protects you from stagnation. It breaks the loop of routine and keeps your mind alert, ready, open. There's nothing more dangerous to your growth than the assumption that you already know enough. The moment you believe you've learned all you need to, you stop progressing. The edge dulls, your mindset becomes rigid. You stop listening as carefully. You miss cues. You miss chances. You miss moments that could have changed everything. The daily habit of learning keeps you sharp. It keeps you adaptable. And it keeps you honest with yourself. Even on difficult days, learning gives you a sense of progress. When nothing else seems to go right, the fact that you gained one new insight can help you feel like the day still moved you forward. That's not small. That's strength. Because consistency over time is more powerful than intensity in short bursts. A single new lesson each day adds up to hundreds of new perspectives each year. That's how you outgrow your old patterns. That's how you build a life that reflects your full potential, not the version of you stuck in yesterday's understanding. It's never too late to become a learner again. You can start right where you are. You don't need a degree. You don't need a structured plan. You just need the decision. One decision, made each morning: I will not go to sleep tonight without learning something new. That's it. That's your anchor. And the more you live by that decision, the more your mind becomes your ally, not your enemy. It works for you, not against you, because you've trained it to seek growth, not comfort, progress, not perfection. When you build the habit of learning something new each day, you unlock more than knowledge. You unlock yourself. You move through life with more clarity, more curiosity, more calm. You stop wasting energy defending outdated ideas. You become the kind of person who leads with awareness, who speaks from understanding, who lives with depth. Not because you know everything, but because you never stop learning. Chapter 9. Choose solitude often to grow your inner strength. Choosing solitude regularly is one of the most powerful acts you can do for yourself. In a world constantly filled with noise and distractions, stepping away and spending time alone becomes not a luxury, but a necessity for building inner strength. Solitude isn't about loneliness or isolation. It's about intentionally creating space where you can reconnect with your own thoughts, feelings, and purpose without outside influence. It's a place where you learn to stand firm with yourself and develop a calm, steady presence that no external circumstance can shake. When you choose solitude often, you give your mind room to breathe. Your thoughts stop rushing in all directions, and you gain clarity on what truly matters. It is in these quiet moments that the noise of everyday life falls away, revealing your deeper values and aspirations. Solitude allows you to observe yourself with honesty. Without the pressure of others' opinions or expectations, you can face your fears, your doubts, and your weaknesses without judgment. This is where real growth begins. You develop the courage to accept yourself fully, flaws and all, which is the foundation of true resilience. The discipline to seek solitude regularly is an act of self-respect. It means you value your mental and emotional health enough to step back when needed. Many avoid solitude because it forces them to confront uncomfortable truths or silence the constant chatter of distraction. But in that discomfort lies opportunity. When you can sit quietly with yourself, you learn to tolerate discomfort and become less dependent on external validation. This builds emotional strength. You become less reactive and more centered. Your reactions shift from impulsive to intentional. Solitude sharpens your ability to listen, not just to others, but to your own inner voice. It allows you to separate the noise from your authentic self. When you're alone, your mind can wander in a healthy way, connecting ideas and uncovering solutions that remain hidden in busy environments. It is the fertile ground for creativity and problem-solving, the space where your intuition speaks clearly without interruption. Without solitude, your thoughts remain scattered, and you miss opportunities to innovate or adjust your path. The habit of choosing solitude also trains your self-discipline. It takes commitment to carve out time for yourself when there are so many demands competing for your attention. But those who master this skill gain a vital edge. They protect their energy and mental resources by setting boundaries around their time. They become less overwhelmed by stress and more equipped to handle challenges calmly. This strength translates directly into every area of life: work, relationships, and personal goals. Solitude does not mean withdrawing from life or avoiding connection. Rather, it enhances your ability to engage with others deeply and meaningfully. When you understand yourself better, your relationships improve naturally. You communicate more honestly, you listen more fully. You show up as your true self without needing to perform or please. Choosing solitude often builds a kind of quiet confidence that others notice, even if you don't say much. Many people underestimate the power of solitude because it is not always comfortable or immediately rewarding. But like any muscle, inner strength grows through consistent practice and challenge. The more often you choose to be alone with your thoughts, the more you build patience, clarity, and emotional resilience. You become better at regulating your emotions and less prone to being tossed by external storms. Your mind becomes a sanctuary rather than a battlefield. Start with small, intentional moments of solitude each day. It could be a walk alone without your phone, sitting quietly with a cup of tea, or simply breathing deeply for a few minutes before starting your tasks. The key is to turn these moments into a regular practice rather than a rare escape. Over time, these periods will lengthen naturally as you become more comfortable with yourself. You will discover that solitude replenishes your spirit and sharpens your focus. Solitude also reconnects you to the present moment. When alone, away from distractions and noise, you become aware of your surroundings, your breath, your heartbeat. This mindfulness strengthens your ability to live fully in the now, which is essential for peace and contentment. It roots you in reality rather than in regrets about the past or worries about the future. This grounded awareness is a vital aspect of inner strength. Choosing solitude often can also help you confront and release toxic influences in your life. When you're constantly surrounded by others, especially negative voices, you can lose sight of your own values and priorities. Time alone helps you evaluate which relationships, habits, or thoughts serve your growth and which drain your energy. This clarity empowers you to make healthier choices and build a life aligned with your true self. The discipline of solitude is a practice of tuning in rather than tuning out. It is not about avoiding life's challenges, but facing them with greater composure. The inner strength you develop through solitude enables you to navigate uncertainty without panic. It helps you respond to difficulties with wisdom instead of reactivity. You learn that the calm inside you is the most reliable foundation for action. Ultimately, choosing solitude often cultivates a powerful independence of mind and spirit. You stop relying on constant input, approval, or distraction to feel whole. Instead, you become your own source of strength and clarity. This freedom creates space for you to pursue your goals with confidence and patience. It allows you to face setbacks without losing your sense of self. It prepares you for a life led with intention rather than by accident. Solitude is not a one-time fix, but a lifelong companion on your journey of self-mastery. When embraced regularly, it transforms your relationship with yourself and the world. It teaches you to trust your own judgment, value your own presence, and appreciate the quiet power of simply being. The more you practice choosing solitude, the more you will discover that your greatest resource for growth has been inside you all along. Chapter 10. Show up daily even when no one is watching. Choosing solitude regularly is one of the most powerful acts you can do for yourself. In a world constantly filled with noise and distractions, stepping away and spending time alone becomes not a luxury, but a necessity for building inner strength. Solitude isn't about loneliness or isolation. It's about intentionally creating space where you can reconnect with your own thoughts, feelings, and purpose without outside influence. It's a place where you learn to stand firm with yourself and develop a calm, steady presence that no external circumstance can shake. When you choose solitude often, you give your mind room to breathe. Your thoughts stop rushing in all directions, and you gain clarity on what truly matters. It is in these quiet moments that the noise of everyday life falls away, revealing your deeper values and aspirations. Solitude allows you to observe yourself with honesty. Without the pressure of others' opinions or expectations, you can face your fears, your doubts, and your weaknesses without judgment. This is where real growth begins. You develop the courage to accept yourself fully, flaws and all, which is the foundation of true resilience. The discipline to seek solitude regularly is an act of self-respect. It means you value your mental and emotional health enough to step back when needed. Many avoid solitude because it forces them to confront uncomfortable truths or silence the constant chatter of distraction. But in that discomfort lies opportunity. When you can sit quietly with yourself, you learn to tolerate discomfort and become less dependent on external validation. This builds emotional strength. You become less reactive and more centered. Your reactions shift from impulsive to intentional. Solitude sharpens your ability to listen, not just to others but to your own inner voice. It allows you to separate the noise from your authentic self. When you're alone, your mind can wander in a healthy way, connecting ideas and uncovering solutions that remain hidden in busy environments. It is the fertile ground for creativity and problem-solving. The space where your intuition speaks clearly without interruption. Without solitude, your thoughts remain scattered, and you miss opportunities to innovate or adjust your path. The habit of choosing solitude also trains your self-discipline. It takes commitment to carve out time for yourself when there are so many demands competing for your attention. But those who master this skill gain a vital edge. They protect their energy and mental resources by setting boundaries around their time. They become less overwhelmed by stress and more equipped to handle challenges calmly. This strength translates directly into every area of life: work, relationships, and personal goals. Solitude does not mean withdrawing from life or avoiding connection. Rather, it enhances your ability to engage with others deeply and meaningfully. When you understand yourself better, your relationships improve naturally. You communicate more honestly. You listen more fully. You show up as your true self without needing to perform or please. Choosing solitude often builds a kind of quiet confidence that others notice, even if you don't say much. Many people underestimate the power of solitude because it is not always comfortable or immediately rewarding. But like any muscle, inner strength grows through consistent practice and challenge. The more often you choose to be alone with your thoughts, the more you build patience, clarity, and emotional resilience. You become better at regulating your emotions and less prone to being tossed by external storms. Your mind becomes a sanctuary rather than a battlefield. Start with small, intentional moments of solitude each day. It could be a walk alone without your phone, sitting quietly with a cup of tea, or simply breathing deeply for a few minutes before starting your tasks. The key is to turn these moments into a regular practice rather than a rare escape. Over time, these periods will lengthen naturally as you become more comfortable with yourself. You will discover that solitude replenishes your spirit and sharpens your focus. Solitude also reconnects you to the present moment. When alone, away from distractions and noise, you become aware of your surroundings, your breath, your heartbeat. This mindfulness strengthens your ability to live fully in the now, which is essential for peace and contentment. It roots you in reality rather than in regrets about the past or worries about the future. This grounded awareness is a vital aspect of inner strength. Choosing solitude often can also help you confront and release toxic influences in your life. When you're constantly surrounded by others, especially negative voices, you can lose sight of your own values and priorities. Time alone helps you evaluate which relationships, habits, or thoughts serve your growth and which drain your energy. This clarity empowers you to make healthier choices and build a life aligned with your true self. The discipline of solitude is a practice of tuning in rather than tuning out. It is not about avoiding life's challenges, but facing them with greater composure. The inner strength you develop through solitude enables you to navigate uncertainty without panic. It helps you respond to difficulties with wisdom instead of reactivity. You learn that the calm inside you is the most reliable foundation for action. Ultimately, choosing solitude often cultivates a powerful independence of mind and spirit. You stop relying on constant input, approval, or distraction to feel whole. Instead, you become your own source of strength and clarity. This freedom creates space for you to pursue your goals with confidence and patience. It allows you to face setbacks without losing your sense of self. It prepares you for a life led with intention rather than by accident. Solitude is not a one-time fix, but a lifelong companion on your journey of self-mastery. When embraced regularly, it transforms your relationship with yourself and the world. It teaches you to trust your own judgment, value your own presence, and appreciate the quiet power of simply being. The more you practice choosing solitude, the more you will discover that your greatest resource for growth has been inside you all along.